really excited for today. It's one of my favorite subjects of all time, which is unlimited listing leads. And obviously, as our climate changes in our new world of our NAR changes and all this fun stuff, no better time on earth to really dive deep into making sure that we always are aware of the model: leads, listings, leverage. It's built billion-dollar businesses. It'll never change. And we're going to have a lot of fun today. If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Brendan Bartic. I've been in residential real estate for just over about 22 years now. And during the course of that time, I built my entire business on listings. I came into a world where that's the way that I was taught. That's the way my mentors ran their companies. And so I've been trying to perfect that game for the last 20 some odd years. And I hope to share some of those insights with you today. In addition, I'm also the CEO of Colorado's largest and number one real estate team, Elite Home Partners. In the last 12 months, we've done just over $6.5 million in gross commission income, just about $270 million in sales volume. Not saying that to impress you on any way, just saying to impress upon you. We have a passion for this, and hopefully I'll be able to share some of that with you today. And as we jump into this, the first piece is on a piece of paper in front of you right now, or if you're driving or walking, don't do this. I want you to write down how many listings you are going to take and sell before now and the end of the year, December 31st. So please make sure that you take a moment to give that some thought. I do this in almost every single class that I ever teach, just to always wrap our mindset around we have to start with clarity and have a clear goal. So how many listings are you going to take and sell before now and the end of the year? So now, as we start to think of that number, the next piece that we have to think about is how many listing appointments are we going to need to have to make that a reality. So we're going to set this up today to make sure we're clear on how many listings we're going to sell, how many listing appointments we're going to need to have, and then where we're going to go get those listing appointments, those unlimited listing leads. That's the reason you're here today. So if you have put down the number 6, how many listing appointments do you need to go on to make sure that you sell 6 listings by the end of the year? Now, before you put a number in the chat box or think this through, we know that number from tracking it for years and years and years is generally 50%. And sometimes when I say this number, people get, they're like, wow, my conversion's way better than that. And let me just finish before you think through this number is, the challenge that we have right now as professional listing specialists is some of us aren't, number one, doing enough cold business, meaning non-referral, non-sphere, my cousin Tony, wants to sell his house business. When you move into a business where you're going to have tons of listing leads, you're going to, number one, turn down a lot more listings than you probably have in the past. You're going to go meet with someone. They're going to have unrealistic expectations. You're not going to get on the same page for price. Sometimes you're not going to like them. They're not going to like you. So that's the reason for a 50% ratio, is knowing that I'm going to need to go on 12 listing appointments to take 6 and sell 6 in the next 12 months, or excuse me, by the end of December 31st. So if you don't know your ratio, now a lot of us use tracking mechanisms. We have CSU and all of these different things, and you're entering your numbers, or you're using Clarity Now in our programs and different things. Then you will know your actual conversion. If you know your number, great, right? That's awesome, right? But I just try to make sure that you're clear. You've got to start anticipating that you're going to be turning down 50% of these, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So now if we know we need to have 12 listing appointments, the next thing that we need to think through is how many conversations about buying or selling, or excuse me, about listing and selling homes are we going to need to have to make that number a reality? And that's what we call a lead measure. In a moment here, I'm going to show you a simple formula to follow, but that's what we call a lead measure. So if I know I need to have 12 listing appointments, or if your number was 3, listings, and you're going to do 6, then you're going to need to know that number. Here's the number that we know, right? And I want to get really, really clear on this, is that it's taking on average about 50 conversations about listing or selling a home to set one listing appointment, right? To set one appointment. Now, some of us use different tech and we've got call recording and 2-minute phone calls and all this, but the general number, very simply, is 50 in this current market. So if I'm going to do 50 times 12 listing appointments, that means I have to have 600 conversations with sellers between now and the end of the year. Okay. Now, if we think about it, we've got what, September, October, November, December. Yeah, we got about 5 months left. I know there's another week left in here, but we got about 5 months. So that's 20 weeks, and we got one extra week. So 21 weeks is the number that we're going to use. So I'm taking 600, dividing it by 21, and that means I have to have 28 conversations with sellers every single week to set that amount of appointments. Okay. So not overwhelming if your number, oh, sorry, I did that times 6. Sorry, 12 would have been that number, right? So 50 times 12, 600, yeah, still 600, divided by, what do we say, 21 weeks. Yeah, so 28.57, okay? So now if we're looking at that number, we can divide that either into 5 days, whatever it is, but now we know what we need to do. We know we need to have this amount of conversations to go out and have success to make sure that we're going to be where we need to be. Now, for some of you, the ratio might be 100 conversations for every one appointment. That's okay, right? It might be 30, it might be 75. Please write this down. I'll never know if I don't track. I'll never know if I don't track, right? So elite listing specialists and elite listing agents all track their data to see where they need to improve. Is it their presentation that's not quite hitting? Is it what they're saying? Is it their lead sources that they're not hitting on? So that's why it's so important to make sure that we always know what our data is. So when we look at the formula, and as we look at this formula here, right, we're going to have absolute clarity. Okay, so of course we're going to have absolute clarity. That's knowing our numbers. Then we're going to act on lead measures, which are conversations. And then in our world, it's ambassadors. Now, if you're new and you're joining us for the first time and you don't know what an ambassador is someone that knows you, likes you, that you're in a real estate relationship with, meaning that you've built up this ability to, they look at you as their real estate agent of choice that would do real estate with you or refer you business. Now, some of us call that our sphere, but I want to warn you, you could have a sphere, but you might not have an ambassador, right? You could have people in your database that you know, but if I called them up randomly, asked them right now, if you had to list your house tomorrow, who would you list with? If they don't say your name immediately, they're not really an ambassador. They're a lead, they're an inquiry, they're an acquaintance, they're maybe your dry cleaner, your whatever it is. So what we're trying to focus on in this second part of that formula is always thinking about our ambassadors, right? And are we making progress on building real estate relationships? Now we have a whole nother class that we teach, and you can check us out on our YouTube channel for how to build your ambassador system, 46 touch system, all that fun stuff. Just like a professional athlete, just like anyone else, they analyze their data to make sure that they understand exactly where those weak spots are, where their strong points are, so they can continue to improve. All right. And then the last part is you just got to have little tiny wins every single week. So if we're looking at this and we're saying that you want to only close 6 listings between now and the end of the year, and you've got 21 weeks to do it, then you're looking at how many appointments do I need to have a week to make that goal a reality? Let's just say for some of us, it's 1. If it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, and there's people on this webinar right now that are going on 7, 10, 15 listing appointments a week. I mean, there was plenty of times where I was on 10, 12, 14 listing appointments every single week. And when we're doing that, we're just starting out when they talk about winning the week to wake up with that clear understanding that I've got a goal this week. I have to set 1, 2, 3 listing appointments this week, whatever your number is for you to achieve your goals. Clear everything else out of the way. and go, I'm going to attack, 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 and make sure that I set an appointment. And I want to warn us, the challenge of doing this is if we only are trying to do that from our sphere, a relationship-based business, please write this down. On any relationship business, let's say that you have 100 people in your database that love you and like you. The odds of them selling in a 12-month period, the percentage is a 6% chance. I'm still allowed to say 6% when I use that number, which is great. I don't have to say 6 bananas because it's a 6% chance, right? So it's a 6% turnover, right? Think about it. In a neighborhood, usually most neighborhoods are 3 to 5 to 6%. So if you want to sell 6 listings a year, you have to be in great relationships with those 100 people, and I'm talking great relationships, to do 6 in a year. If you have 200, you're more on pace for 12, and you can do the math as you multiply that ahead. So for some of us, we might need to get 6 from our database, and then we need to get 6 from somewhere else, right? And we've got to get comfortable with what those other sources are, where they come from, how to execute on them. And that's exactly why we're really focusing on that here today. So we have a 4-part framework that will help you with this, right? First, we focus on the top lead sources. Then you have to establish the problem that you're solving for those lead sources. That's critically important, right? Once I decide on the lead sources that I'm going to become ninja master level at, I've got to decide what the problems are that I'm going to solve for them. Then I have to get very, very, very good at knowing what to say and how to say it. Okay? Remember, you get paid an exorbitant amount of money to talk. Well, some of us get paid an exorbitant amount of money, right? Others, not so much, because we haven't spent the time, the effort, the energy practicing our dialogues, our conversations, our objection handlers. Same way you would practice piano if you wanted to play a beautiful song, or the same way that you would practice golf if you want to shoot below 70 or 80, or in my case, 110, right? Whatever it is that your current goals are, right? You would have to practice that skill set. And then the last piece, framework number 4, is you have to build a machine. We're in the data business. Please write that down. I'm in the data business, okay? So data is gold, and the game has changed so much with data now that we have so much ability to aggregate data, to use algorithms to tell us who might be the most interested, and then to have systems and tools working behind the scenes to provide us leverage that's nurturing these systems so we don't have to personally, right? That's a big piece of this is, we used to have an image all the time that I want to get in your mind. Do you have a listing machine, right? Like think about it like if you wanted to produce gold, right? Do you have a mining machine, or are you out there in the river with this little pan trying to sift through, trying to find a nugget here or there? That machine is the major difference of average or fantastic agents. So we're going to talk about how to build that today. All right. So let's talk about lead sources, and let's talk about the top lead sources, okay? Now, these are in exact order for a very specific reason. Now, again, for those that obviously know, expireds are always number 1 because they've already decided to list a home and they've already decided to pay a commission. For sell by owners are always number 2. They've decided to list their home, but they haven't decided if they want to use an agent yet, and they're not quite sure how much commission they want to pay, right? And that's the whole mindset right there. I have for sale by owners all the time that are going, I just wanted to kind of check it out and see if I could do it on my own. And here's the thing with for sale by owners, that is a beautiful part. They always overlist their property. They list it way high because they don't have anyone consulting them. And then we know, write this statistic down, 86% of all for sale by owners end up listing and selling with a professional listing agent. 86%. Why shouldn't that be you? That should be you. Let's make sure that it's you today, okay? Then the next one, and this is one of my favorites that I think is probably the least one that people focus on, for rent by owner. FRBO, right? For rent by owner. These are people that are actively trying to rent their property, and you're calling them, and we're going to give you the dialogues to use here. You're going to call them to have a conversation with them and go, instead of renting this property and having to deal with another tenant and deal with all that stress, what if I could help you receive top dollar today's market, and then you could take that money and invest it in something else or put it into other properties, all of that, right? So that's just a mini script, but there's so many, or dialogue, there's a lot of different ways to attack this, but that's one that people don't really mess with, and it's a gold mine. Number 4, notice of elective demand, meaning that I'm 30, 60, 90 days past due on my mortgage. Now, let me talk about this one for a moment because I want you to get really clear. This one wasn't a big deal for a while because, again, everything was good in the world, all these things were happening. I just heard the latest statistic that the United States savings amount has gone down from 6.9% to 3.1%, meaning inflation's gone up, right? So inflation's gone up. The amount of everything costs more. We all agree, yes. Say yes in the chat box. Everything sucks and it costs more, right? And then number 2, people aren't making the same amount. So they're spending their savings or they're racking up credit cards. That now is going to hit a breaking point, a compression point where, again, I don't have the money to pay my mortgage. I've exhausted my savings. I've racked up the credit cards. I need to sell my house and I have equity in it, or some people don't, and wherever you're, people all over the nation joining us today. So why don't I help you sell your property to avoid foreclosure? It's a gold mine of a lead source. Now the next one, just listed, or excuse me, just sold, right? So every day you wake up and you have this beautiful world of going, either you, someone in your market center, someone in your office sold a property, and now you have the ability to either call in a safe, regulated way or door knock and go, we just sold this home. We still have a ton of buyers that missed out on that opportunity. I was calling to see if you had any interest in selling because I have backup buyers. They either say yes, no, and if they say no, you go, that's fantastic. Well, because I have so many buyers here in Aurora all the time, if you were to move, where would you go next and when would that be? Now, again, we're going to do little mini clips of dialogues here, but it's a numbers game. Now with technology, we have different tools that can help us do all this. We have neighborhood search tools. We have different resources that can help you do all this and just make sure you're following all of the rules and safe with the providers, right? There's tons. Now, every time you're making that call, you got to remember this. Please write this down. It's never if, it's when. Every call that I make, I'm identifying when they're going to sell, not if they need to sell right now. And then all I'm doing is planting a seed. I'm either planting a seed of what would it look like in a perfect world that you would want to sell, or 2, fear. Did you know right now that inventory here in XYZ neighborhood has increased by 40% in the last 4 months? 30, 20, 9, whatever the number is. I just wanted to give you a notice to make sure that you understand that our market hasn't corrected in over 10 years, 15 years, whatever it is in your area. And so we're starting to see a major shift in the market right now. And for the first time, prices are going down, and they're going down dramatically. So if you're looking to get the most money possible between now and the next 3 years, it would be very, 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 very beneficial for me to at the very least come by and deliver a free market analysis to you so you can understand where your home is currently positioned. Are nights or weekends better for you? Okay, that's the game. That's the conversation. Now, again, the machine, update database, whatever they say, not ready now, maybe in a month, when Johnny goes back to college, when I get my pension, when I get my hip replaced, notes, follow up, send a handwritten note card, send an item of value, love on them, check in with them on your database in a regularly scheduled time frame, you'll have more listing leads than you'll ever know what to do with on earth. Then the same one is number 6. It's just a different positioning. So just listed. Our amazing organization, or yourself, if you just listed a home, just listed this amazing property. We know it's going to sell very quickly. So I was reaching out to all the neighbors to see if you or anyone else you know might be interested in selling, because we know we're going to have a lot of backup buyers that miss out on this opportunity. Same thing that we just saw before. Blah, blah, blah. Update, update, update. Use your checkdowns that are all built into the conversation book that we're going to provide to you in the chat box, right? All of that is there. Then number 7, open houses. So you're going to host an open house this week. Same thing as number 5 and 6. You're going to call and just go invite the people in the neighborhood to the open house. Now, if you're going to call, great. You really want to increase this, you go out and door knock using these same scripts and dialogues. So today is Thursday. I have an open house on Sunday. Tomorrow I'm going to go door knock 50, 100 doors in the surrounding area of where my open house is going to be. And I'm going to use the same dialogue. Hey, I've got this amazing property that's going to be hitting the market that we have an open house scheduled for Sunday at 12 o'clock. I would love it if you had the opportunity to come by and provide any feedback that you think about the property. And also, if you happen to know of anyone that you think might be interested in purchasing them, I'd love to connect with them so that you can pick your own neighbor. And Susie, while I have a chance to talk to you, we know we're going to have backup buyers that are maybe not the right fit for that property. So can I ask you, if you were to sell, where would you go next? When would that be? Do you see a theme here? Do you see a theme that we're doing here? If you were to sell, where would you go next and when would that be? Now, whether you like the way I say things or you have different versions, there's 1,000 different versions of these conversation dialogues that you can use. But when you get comfortable with that, the whole goal of this is to continue to lead to when, not if. You're finishing with your door knocking, you've got detailed notes, you go back, update database, send handwritten note card saying it was so great to meet you, blah, 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 blah. If you get their email address, put them on your nurture program, put them on your monthly mailer, your newsletter, yada, yada, yada. Check in with them every quarter until the time is right, and sell, 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 sell. And then at the very bottom of the list here, you see the reason why we're going to Sphere at the end. Now, this is your database. And I was just down in San Antonio teaching, and a very great agent was like, I don't want to do any of those because I haven't even talked to everyone in my database yet. And I go, well, let's think through that, right? I can't even keep up with my database. Again, you're only going to get, and I'm saying 6% is a good number, churn of your database of people that are going to list in the next 12 months, right? 100, 200, 300, whatever's in your database. And be clear on this. Some of you have 2,000 person databases, but only 200 people actually know who you are in that database, right? So you don't have a 200 ambassadors. You have a 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 database of randos, inquiries, leads, Zillow lead that you bought from 9 years ago, right? That you're just like, one day they're gonna get my email and call me up and want me to list with them, or list them. So we've got to get really clear on this and make sure that we understand that. In that conversation with her, I go, well, I want to guarantee that I can set the amount of appointments that I need every month to deliver to my family, to my philanthropy efforts, to my legacy. And I can't do that with hoping and praying that my database is going to sell at some given time. Now, those naysayers, you might be going, well, what if they give me referrals? Again, not saying it can't be done, but as I'm going to show you here in just a moment, the concept that we have to fully understand, the highest resistance equals the highest reward. The highest resistance equals the highest reward. So let me explain to you what I mean by this. Okay, so think about this chart and understand this, and I'll explain it as best that I possibly can. On the left-hand side of this chart, we've got reward. And for us, reward is money, right? So if we want the highest amount of money, in the shortest period of time, as you see on the bottom part of the graph there, then it goes in this exact order because I'm focusing on the people that can actually need to do something right now, and then I start working my way down to the bottom. Now, you can definitely still build a business based on sphere, but look at the time difference. If I get good at my expired conversations and my expired door knocking and my expired letters and my expired value package, they need to sell now. The person they worked with didn't help them get there. Why would I not focus on them all the time? Now, doesn't mean you don't focus on the other ones, but if you're going to be focusing on sphere, yes, you can build a business. And I hear people all the time go, I'm 90% sphere based. And I go, how long have you been in the business? 13, 15, 17 years. How many deals you do? 9. Cool. Good for you, right? You're in the business 12 years doing 9 deals from your sphere. You ain't going to ever be on any main stage. You ain't going to be helping anybody change your life. You're going to be flying coach with the chickens in the back, right? You're going to be doing average life. That's the lie in the mindset that we have to get broken out of. Highest resistance, highest reward. Now, when I use that word resistance, what do we not like in our life? We're trained to escape resistance. We're trained to avoid pain. And our pain, think about how silly this is in our business. Our pain is having someone tell us no at a door or on the phone. That's a lot less pain than being, let's say, I don't know, a professional boxer or of my favorite, the UFC. I'm going to have some guy crush me with his arm lock and break my arm so I can get a paycheck. That's pain. That's true resistance. We get to have people tell us no, and it hurts our feelings, so we don't do it. Now, you have to fall in love with the concept of no is your friend. Every 29 no's is going to equal a yes, right? If you know your numbers. Now, as we said, 50 conversations to set one appointment. That doesn't mean you're going to have 49 no's. You're going to have probably 20 no's and a lot of not now, sometime in the futures. And then you're going to get to the one yes that goes, yes, right now. That's what we're trying to make sure that we really understand this as professional salespeople, as professional real estate agents. We're just whacking through no's and maybes and what ifs to get to that yes. And those that are most efficient at that, as you see on the left side, have the highest level of reward. But Brendan, I'm following this gal on Instagram and she's doing 40 deals a year from TikTok. Cool. Go to her class, right? I don't know what else to say, right? I see this nonsense all the time, right? They don't understand the difference, again, of how that whole game works on, I can build a business off of social media. I know one thing for sure. If you talk to people that are ready to sell right now about helping them sell, you're probably going to get business. That's a fact. So are you thinking about designing your business based on this graph or chart? I don't know what it's really called. A chart, I would imagine, is what it's called. Or are you doing it in reverse, or you're just doing the bottom hoping it's all going to work out? That's what we have to get real clear on today. Okay? The only reason we don't live in this upper quadrant, right, of expired, for sale by owner, for rent by owner, NED just sold, is because we haven't practiced enough, because we have rejection that comes with it, and because it's not part of our business plan or strategy. Now, I just had an agent that just joined our organization from Florida. His name's John, amazing guy, one of my favorite people. And he moved his business for health reasons. They couldn't live in the humidity. There was some other reasons. And I mean, let's be honest, who wants to Just kidding though. I won't make any Florida jokes. I lived in Florida for years. It's beautiful. But didn't want to live in Florida anymore. Moves to Colorado, starting his business from scratch here. And he goes, Brendan, I've been doing real estate for 15 years, never called an expired in my life. He goes, so what do I need to do? Do I need to set up a newsletter here? I'm going to try to start tacking this neighborhood. I don't really have much of a sphere here because we just recently relocated. So what is all the money that I need to spend on marketing? Should I do brochures and flyers, and should I do this? And I go, John, let me help you here. Explain to him this concept, because John is an all-star. Next day, calls it expireds, talks to a builder that has an expired $5.2 million builder spec house that expired, has an amazing conversation with him, talks to him. The guy goes, yeah, the previous agent, we were just using her because she used to send me high-end remodel business for my construction company, but she doesn't do that great of a job. I'd love to meet with you. Can we have coffee? So think about that. Boom, opportunity, needs to sell, $5.2 million, is also a builder, future business from it. Also spoke to John, that other part of that story. He also had 12 people tell him no and not to call them again. Are you willing to get past the 12 no's, don't call me again, to get the one conversation from, and that's a great example, but it could have been a $500,000 house, a $200,000 house, a $100,000 house, anything on earth. Are we going to the highest resistance to get the highest reward? And are we building our calendar and our schedule around how to accomplish that?